Welcome back to Delta Waterfowl's The Voice of the Duck Hunter podcast. In today's episode, I'm joined by Jon Zinnel, Senior Manager of Conservation and Youth Shooting Sports Programs at Federal Premium Ammunition. Of course, we did discuss trends in ammunition availability, but our main focus was on how conservation and hunter recruitment are driving forces each and every day from the factory floor to company headquarters at Federal. With that introduction, let's bring in today's guest. Jon, welcome to the Delta Waterfowl podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. What a great day.
Yeah, it is. So for all the listeners, Jon and I are sitting at the podcast booth here at the Delta Waterfowl Duck Hunters Expo in Little Rock, Arkansas. Again, it's our first ever expo. We didn't know what to expect, Jon.
Yeah, and coming into it, what a great event. We landed, it was so fun to hear the opening, the ribbon cutting, and they were talking about how exciting it was to have everybody coming from out of state, but also bringing the rain along with them, because Arkansas has been dry this year, so they are excited to have a few days of rain, and I think bringing all these duck hunters has brought them a little good luck,
Yeah, that actually is one of life's greatest ironies, isn't it? But it's been a lot of moisture since we've been here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it's been, as today we had a few of our folks from the booth were standing out there and watching people come down those escalators, and they just kept coming. And so today has been a busy day on the show floor, which is fantastic to see for your inaugural show. I mean, you really can't ask for anything else. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I have to admit, I was a little nervous, but having never done one before, we brought down probably 70 of our 80 full-time staff to run this.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of different ways to do it, but everybody's enjoyed it. We're having a good time. That's for sure. I had to kind of laugh. I didn't watch the ribbon cutting yesterday, but I saw it on Instagram, I believe, and that big giant scissors didn't cut the ribbon very well. I think he ended up tearing it with his hands afterwards. I thought that was kind of humorous. But again, Jon, you're with... Man, I talked about this off the air, and I talk about it, but I find the business structure of Federal so confusing, but I'm just going to go with this one. Federal Premium Ammunition, your title, Senior Manager of Conservation and Youth Shooting Sports Programs.
Yeah, that's right. So it is a little complex of a structure. So we're all part of so Federal Ammunition is part of Vista Outdoors, our parent company. And so within that, we have, I believe, 41 businesses in the Vista Outdoor platform or portfolio, Federal Ammunition being our largest on the ammunition side. So that's where I focus all of my energy. I'm within our ammunition business unit. So that's Federal Ammunition, that's Remington Ammunition, that's Heavy Shot Ammunition, which are all here at the show. But we also have CCI and Spear Gold Dot, which is out of Lewiston, Idaho, as another company within our business, ammo side of the business. Obviously just not in the duck hunting world. So here today, and at the weekend we have, Federal, Remington, and Heavy Shot here. And then like the title is, I manage all of our conservation supporting programs. So that's everything from, Delta Waterfowl to other partners in that conservation space, and also state wildlife agencies, working with a lot of those folks, not only on the conservation side, but also within their, hunter recruitment and hunter education side. And that brings into that youth shooting sports programs, whether it's clay targets at the range or R3 projects and programs trying to get more people afield, whether it's ducks or pheasants or deer, we're there and we're wanting to step in and help and to support the best we can. So a very unique position within our structure, but also, for those listeners that are out there and maybe don't know all of that structure, it's kind of an oddity to look and see, what some would say as competitors are also under the same umbrella. We're all under the same deal, and we're all working together for the greater good of the industry, really.
No, I do think that's impressive. I think if you're hanging around Delta Waterfowl long enough, you know that we love Federal. We absolutely do. Title sponsor of this expo.
Yeah, presenting sponsor of your first ever, here. And we also have Remington as a bluebill sponsor and Heavy Shot as a teal sponsor. So, when we came in, we wanted to come in and really help you guys, launch this expo into something that's just going to be great. And traveling around and going to a lot of these various events, seeing the atmosphere and seeing the passion that are in your members that are here, like it's a family feeling. I was at your volunteer awards luncheon today, and the passion that were there, full-grown men, bearded men up on stage in tears, talking about how exciting it is for them and their chapters to not only have their banquets, you guys have a fantastic banquet structure, but really driving the Delta message into the community and having their Hunter R3 programs, bringing more families afield. It was just, it was pouring out of these volunteers, and it was just fascinating to see that. And it truly is a family. I think your CEO brought it up and said 80 employees, I think, right? Is that 80 employees? So you guys are truly a family operation, right? You're not seen as a big corporation, you know what I mean, as far as your structure goes, and just friends. I mean, I would imagine that out of those 80, there's a good chunk of them that have dogs, and you probably know their dog's name.
Oh yeah, and I think one of the funny things is not only that, we often, in a job that you travel a fair bit, probably like you, John, of course, we take care of each other's dogs at the same time.
Yeah.
And Matt Chenard, I don't know if you've met Matt before, he's one of our program biologists. He and I have underground fences around our properties, so the dog collars work at both places. So when I drop my dog off, put the perimeter collar on, off they go. But yeah, it's great. And I wish I could have made that volunteer lunch, because what I find is that, I think guys like you and me, we've always known, let me speak for myself, I've always known what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in conservation. I wanted to be in management. And I'm motivated just by waking up every day. But at the same time, I have so much respect for the volunteers who give their time, give their money, give their passion to Delta or anything else. Pheasants Forever, you pick it. It's energizing to see people do that, because I'll be honest with you, when I punch out at the end of the day, if that ever really happens, my wife would say, I'm running to sports, I have so many things going on, so I am so energized by the time that people give out of their day.
Yeah, it's not only Delta Waterfowl, it's all of the other organizations. You just have that passion, right? It is there, and you have to as a staff person. So I came, from the industry side. I've been now in this ammo business for, over 6 years, and previous to that, I came from the nonprofit side in the conservation community. So I worked for the Mule Deer Foundation. I think that's probably where you and I had first met, actually, was when I was with them, and I was working on a lot of their R3 programs at the time. And then Safari Club International previous to that. So I came from that nonprofit side, and you see the passion, and sometimes it's hard to sit back and realize, like, you're here all day long, get up at whatever time in the morning and go to work, and if you do get a chance to punch out, but you're working with volunteers. These volunteers are working into the evenings, they're giving their time, their gas, their family hangouts are oftentimes at committee meetings and at banquets or projects or whatever it may be, and so to sit back and to look at the amount of time and that's dedicated to the organization, it's humbling. It's so cool to see that drive that they have, and for you guys, right, putting more ducks over decoys. I've heard that
right.
term. I've heard you guys, your staff. I've heard your volunteers just keep going and talking about that. And what better tagline can you have than just we want to put more ducks over decoys, right?
Yeah. The other one that I'm proud of, and I didn't come up with it, but the Duck Hunters organization.
Yeah.
So I'll run into a stranger, and if we start talking about jobs or whatever, they go, "Oh, Delta Waterfowl, that's awesome. I mean, you guys are for the duck hunter. We love that." And I'm like, just start. It's just happening.
Yeah.
And it's nice to, I guess, to hear that. I mean, we work hard. We feel that way. We try to live by the Duck Hunters organization. Put more ducks over your decoys, but it's great to hear people respond with those types of phrases. It's great.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It's fantastic. And for us, obviously, we're in the ammunition business. Your members and your supporters are folks that are out there chasing ducks, whether they're doing it in a marsh, on a lake, or in the field. They're using our products, or at least we hope they're using our products, right?
Hope so. That's right.
So they're using our products. So your members are our customers, right? And our customers are your members. And so that's where that tie, and it just makes sense for us to support organizations doing great things, So we have, obviously here, at the inaugural Duck Hunters Expo, presenting sponsor Federal Ammunition. We were absolutely happy when Brad came to us and said, "Hey, we're going to be putting this thing on, and we're going to do it right, and it's going to be a great event for Delta, the first ever pulling together an international event, right? A lot of folks from Canada here and all over the United States, and we're happy to do it. But then when you really dive into the relationship, we've had a relationship for a real long time. Federal Ammunition, Delta Waterfowl. We have the Delta logo proudly bearing on all of our Speed Shock boxes, all of our WF loads, WF 142-2s or WF 142-4s, whatever that load is, has got the Delta logo and a little message on there to where hopefully we can then, promote and present Delta Waterfowl to some of our customers, and obviously your members are hopefully noticing that and seeing that and saying, hey, these folks are stepping up to the plate and supporting our mission and supporting us at our fundraising events and working on that conservation stuff. So it's a great relationship back and forth.
It is, and it means the world hearing that out of your mouth. Just kind of a fun little personal story. I have 2 kids, 15-year-old son, 12-year-old daughter, and I remember it was my daughter. I think we were at our local Shields, and it was time to get some more ammo, and we were looking through the ammo aisle, and this was before supply was such an issue. And she goes, Dad, there's a Delta logo on that box, and it was that was pretty cool, actually. I have to admit that because little old Delta that I started with 21 years ago, I think there was like 8 employees, and
is that right?
Yeah, there weren't blue box Delta Waterfowl loads out there at the time, so it's that's really cool. So John, let's get to know you a little bit. I mean, I believe that the people make the company. I mean, you could have the best product in the world, but if you have bad employees who aren't, in line with the mission or just flat out good people, you're not going to do as well, and you guys do so well. So let's get to know you. Give us your background. Where are you from? Early experiences with hunting, perhaps?
Yeah, for sure. So I was born in Minnesota, obviously a great state for waterfowling, and I grew up just over the border in northern Iowa. So spent my whole life there, and still have a lot of family that are there. But then, from graduating off and heading out, I went to school in Northwest Missouri, which is a fantastic spot to go if you're a waterfowl hunter. So my roommates and I, we tore it up. We hunted ducks and geese almost every day. So we scheduled all of our classes to not start till 10, 11 o'clock so we could make sure to hit the marsh in the morning. And then from there, it took me all the way out west. I spent a lot of time working for Safari Club. I managed education facility in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and then lived in Tucson, Arizona at their headquarters. So to get a Midwestern kid jumping down into the desert was a whole different place for me. So, and then that drove me then out to Salt Lake City, Utah for the Mule Deer Foundation. So spent a fair share of years out there. And then recently been back now to Minnesota for about 6 years or so, and just loving being back in the Midwest. My wife is from Iowa as well, and we have a 4-year-old daughter who's just excited to do anything outside. She just loves to be outside and loves to be out and about, and so starting to take her to the shooting range stuff now more and more, and as our products and our innovation have changed, hopefully be able to get her out of field earlier than maybe we would have in the past with some of the innovations into sub-gauge loads and options that are available. Hopefully we'll be able to do that because she wants nothing more than to go and spend time in the field. So it's fun. You mentioned you have 2 children, and watching them grow, you blink your eyes and they just keep on going. And I hear everybody say, you got to embrace it, you got to do it. So I come from obviously very passionate into hunting, but also into shooting sports. So I love to shoot, more of a clay target shooter than I am anything else, but I do like to shoot, handguns and rifle just like everybody else as well, and hunt a variety of species. So I think that, you talk about that having, great people or whatever, and I would say that, within our company, when you go and meet our employees and you see the passion in them, right? It's very similar, I'm sure, of how we just mentioned or talked about your memberships and that passion that you could see, right? A full-grown bearded man up there crying on stage today was fascinating, right? And our employees have the same drive. Our employees are out there, at the range or taking their families or their friends or their neighbors out there, and you pull into the parking lot during hunting season and you're seeing, duck boats in the back of trucks. That's and cool. You have a trailer parked there, parking area at the manufacturing facility, and so that they have that same passion in them, and I think that's what really drives that brand too, right? You get to see that they're not, when they're building products and they're working in engineering and going through that process, they're users of the product, and that's a huge thing.
Yeah, no, it is. This is a joke, John, but I grew up in Wisconsin, I live in North Dakota, and it's coincidentally, neither one of those states really likes Minnesota. Because they're the home to the Vikings if you're a Packer. Yeah. And then as a North Dakotan, we get a lot of Minnesotans coming into North Dakota duck hunting in the fall. So, but that's just in jest.
Yeah, no.
You know.
Well, I live in Minnesota, and I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, so I'm kind of in enemy territory when it comes to there. But, I'd be the first to tell you I do go to North Dakota and I go duck hunting, but I try to, if I can, rent a car and look for something other than a blue plate. Because first time I was ever out there, I heard one of the local guys was telling a story or whatever about the blue platers, and it took me a little minute to figure it out. But all the Minnesota license plates, for all the listeners out there, is a blue license plate, right? So all the North Dakota residents talk about the blue platers coming over the border and hunting ducks, and so
yeah, it's kind of true though, actually.
Yeah.
A lot of people from Wisconsin come out and perch fish, but I do think it's interesting. Like both of us are Midwestern boys, and you've returned back to where you came from, more or less. But I do think in the industry, in the conservation industry, the sporting industry, hunting industry, the Midwesterners they're everywhere. In the industry. Typically, Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, they're everywhere. I guess I'm kind of proud of that.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely. And so I mentioned our ammunition businesses before. We have Sweet Home, Oregon, the home of Heavy Shot. We have Lewiston, Idaho, the home of CCI, and now Lonoke, Arkansas, just right outside of town here from where we sit today, is Remington Ammunition. And at all those facilities, we have a lot of great crossover of our employees, right? We've got a lot of engineers and folks from Minnesota that have shifted off and moved to Lonoke here or to Lewiston. And so a lot of good opportunities, I think, there as far as sharing that passion, right, of what it may be, whether it's duck hunting or chasing pheasants or whatever, and that's a good thing for the industry.
A number of episodes ago, I did a podcast with a couple of the guys at the Remington factory.
Yeah.
Man, I'm putting myself on the spot.
I think you sat down with Joel Hodgson, the director of marketing.
Yeah.
I think it was Joel that you sat down with.
And I saw him here.
Yes.
But I didn't. He was busy, so I didn't say hi yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a good deal. And I know there was somewhat of a tour arranged of the factory.
Yeah.
For some of the Delta people, or
So yesterday morning, I got the opportunity to hop in the truck and drive a lot of your board members from Delta Waterfowl and a few staff. We left the hotel early and we headed out. It was only a 25-minute drive. We pull off on, I think it's Remington Avenue, and there we are at the Remington ammunition plant. And so we got a chance to walk them through, and we had great tour guides, Jimmy and Ronnie, and we split the group in half, and one started in shot shell and the other one started in rifle, and they crossed each other in the middle of the plant and had the opportunity to go through and see how the products are made and see these employees, in 100-degree heat out there working and building this ammunition. And so for them, I think, and obviously you're board, right? Very passionate waterfowl people, or they wouldn't be on the Delta Waterfowl board. And to see it open up and to see their eyes when they walked in there, and it was just fascinating, this manufacturing. And it's ammunition, right? Every manufacturing is a little bit unique and different, and it's building product that everybody loves, and I think they truly, truly enjoyed their time.
Yeah, I think up until a few years ago, I think you take the process of acquiring ammunition for granted, right?
Yeah.
Reach into your pocket, take it out, put it in the gun, and all of a sudden you start thinking of the shells going out in dollar bills, and am I going to find another shot?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that would probably be a great experience to tour that factory and just kind of see some of the behind-the-scenes stuff.
Yeah, and one thing, is neat, and so when we came out of there, I kind of I wanted to highlight on three things, and I didn't want to talk about a lot of them on the front side because I wanted them to experience it, in the raw themselves when they were walking through, and one of them was, patriotism. When you walk through that facility, whether you're here in Lonoke, Arkansas at Remington, or you're in Anoka, Minnesota at the Federal Ammunition Plant, or Lewiston, or Heavy Shot, there is more. We got Rubber Ducky going away here at the expo. There is more American flags around our facilities than you will probably see at any other facility around. And I would say, I've been to a lot of different tours in a lot of different places, within the industry, and there is a lot of patriotism, and that is an important aspect, and we are really focused on, not only building communities locally, but working, to support American jobs in our manufacturing. And so we're excited to have thousands of employees building great ammunition here in our country, and that was one of the highlights. And everybody, as soon as I said that, everybody was shaking their head because everybody noticed it. Everybody saw that. Flags everywhere. Every door, every office door has a flag sticking out of it. I mean, it was really neat to go through and to be reminded of that every time I walked the factory. And the second one was talking about conservation. I said, our brands through all of our ammunition business, we are so dedicated into conservation, because what I mentioned previously about how your members are our customers and our customers are your members, they're one and one, and it is so important to us to give back to conservation. And for those of you out there, you understand how wildlife management works, and Delta Waterfowl working with state and federal wildlife agencies and so forth. The funding of a lot of those state wildlife agencies comes from, a federal excise tax, the Pittman-Robertson federal excise tax, and our company is the largest payer into that federal excise tax in the country. We're paying tens of millions of dollars every quarter throughout the year into that federal excise tax that's going back then, earmarked to go back into state wildlife agencies to then match and to use, whether it's working on duck marshes or upland fields or whatever it may be. That's where that funding comes from. So as the industry side of things, we want to make sure that we share that message of industry providing and giving back to the wildlife agencies and the organizations, and then we take it a step above that to where we have other programs that support wildlife conservation, like our relationship with Delta Waterfowl, right? So we have, our own corporate sponsorship relationships. So that's all above and beyond the tens of millions of dollars that we're paying into federal excise tax. We're paying more money into organizations that are doing great things. When Delta Waterfowl is working on projects and working on research, whether it's it's predation or it's nesting in the prairie pothole regions, we're happy and excited to know that our sponsored dollars are going towards programs like that. That's a huge thing for us.
Yeah, no, I can't. I agree. In short, I agree. I think one of the, I'm going to take the positive approach on this one. I think first and foremost, the production of ammunition is a business, right? Mm-hmm. It's a revenue stream for workers, for owners, you name it. But I love companies that take it a step further and say, okay, we are part of the greater conservation world, mm-hmm. whether we acknowledge it or not. And so, to see federal step up, make those contributions you just talked about. But I do think, we touched on it a little bit. I do find it fascinating, truly fascinating, that you are employed as a conservation professional in an ammunition company.
Yeah, it's that tie. It's that direct relationship with our customers, our hunters. Our customers are shooters. And so anything that we can do to engage and embrace what it is that our customers either need or they want is an important part to our business, right? If we see a shift or we know that there's a need in the industry for certain things, we need to make sure that we're on that to be able to build that. And so, you touched a little bit on it earlier as far as some of the challenges, right? Where you used to just be, pulling ammunition out of your jacket and putting it in your gun and going and sitting in a blind or walking a field and not thinking about where you're going to go and find, your next box of
right.
shells that you need, and rest assured that all of our facilities, all of our factories, all of our employees, thousands of them across the country at our 4 locations, are working day in and day out to try to pump more ammunition to the retailers that are close to them, right? So we're getting into that network. We're selling it direct on our website for some of those harder to find loads. If you can't find them locally, you can certainly look them up on the website, and we'll ship, for the most part, right to your doorstep, unless there's restrictions that we can't. But it's important to us to share the messaging to our partners, our customers, and let them know that we're building as much as we possibly can. And in most cases, across all of our product lines, are building more than we've ever built before in the history of our company. Federal Ammunition turned 100 years this last year. 2022, June 27th was our 100th anniversary celebration. Wow. And 100 years manufacturing ammunition in the same facility in Anoka, Minnesota today than we were 100 years ago. And it's just a phenomenal accomplishment to get to 100 years. And it's fantastic to look through the archives over the last 100 years and see that all the way back 80 years ago, 90 years ago, conservation was still a story within our company back then. It was a driver in what it was that our company did when it was founded, to still today, right? So still today, to know that conservation is still a huge portion and a huge part of our company, for me, makes me proud to work there. And I think for a lot of our other employees in the same fact, they're saying exactly the same things, right? We are happy to be a supporter and to be part of the overall conservation community as an ammunition company.
Yeah, I would also point out for the listener that Jon is telling the truth. I run into John, I don't know how many times. I guess pre-COVID, post-COVID, it's hard to say.
Yeah,
kind
a
of
little
tired of
different.
saying that, but you and I end up in the same meetings quite frequently.
Yeah,
You know, particularly the R3 side, the recruitment, retention, reactivation of hunters. You're on the board of the Council of Advanced Hunting and Shooting Sports
Yes,
as
sir,
well,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And I am too, and so we run into each other with those. I had some family medical issues. I couldn't make it to the R3 symposium.
Yeah.
Imagine you were there.
I was. It was a great event, and you're right on there, Joel. As far as meeting, I mean, God, it had to have been at least a half a dozen times or more a year. We would just be at, whether it's the North American or a council meeting or whatever, running into each other talking about that. But your other staff members, right? I mean, you guys, you have John Denvey and you have Cyrus Beard up there just knocking it out of the park with policy, right? Mm-hmm. And I run into those guys too at the North American, at all these other meetings. It's an awesome opportunity to know that when you go to those meetings, there's friends that are across the table to work from there, and to be able to speak on behalf of the industry, at least the ammunition part of the business, is hopefully a benefit to a lot of those meetings, a lot of those organizational gatherings, to give an industry perspective, because there's a lot of challenges there. It's manufacturing, right. You know what I mean? You have a lot of material streams coming in. You've got production issues and challenges that are there as far as running and operating that business. But being there at the table is important to us, and it has been for many, many years in the history of the company. And so it's exciting. It's fun. I think it's good for the overall structure of the industry, and specifically, you mentioned that R3 side, right? Recruitment, retention, reactivation. That's what it's all about. You guys are the Duck Hunters organization, putting more ducks over decoys, and what a story to be told with your, recruitment programs that you have set up. I heard about them earlier today, and I'm sure I'll hear about them later on tonight about the passion that your membership has to host these local events and do the right thing for their communities.
Yeah, right in the background, everybody can probably hear it. We have a goose call going off, duck calls going off, just families walking by. It's a lot of fun. John, I think, just my observation, in the recent times when we are at the same meeting, you seem to get just pounded by R3 professionals with ammo questions, supply issues. When am I going to get some? And so I know you fulfill that role for sure. You're able to give people who run programs maybe a glimpse at what the future is going to look like. But I do see you advocating strongly for effective R3 programs. So, hats off to you for that. On the conservation side, John, what are some of the places that you express yourself as a conservation professional?
Yeah, so we work, across the board with I would say practically every conservation organization within our country, for sure, right? Whether it's deer or elk or whitetails or pretty much anything, right? Bucks and bulls and all sorts of stuff. We like to support there, but I also have a great relationship with a lot of the state wildlife agencies, right? So when there's conversations and questions, regarding any of our products, whether it's non-toxic options, and as those innovations advance that lineup of products, whether it's shifting from steel into bismuth or bismuth into tungsten or whatever it may be, we have the conversations with the states to be able to help and to assist, and hopefully shift in some of our building capabilities to help support some of those efforts. So one example would be, a great relationship with the state of Kansas. They called me up, I want to say it was last year, it might have been the first year of COVID, right? So we always refer to everything nowadays, as whether it was pre-COVID, during COVID, after COVID. It might have been the first year, and as you know, there was an insurgence of the number of licenses that were sold. People were heading afield. They had nothing else they could do, right? They wanted to go out and do something, so they're chasing, whether it was getting ready for deer season or going out for the dove hunt. They ran into an issue on a lot of state lands requiring non-toxic options for hunting doves, right? And they couldn't find. They started to get calls from their customers, licensed buyers in the state, saying, "Hey, I have looked, I have called, and I cannot find a non-toxic, a steel shot option for dove hunting within a 6-hour drive of where we're at. So how are we going to work on this?" I had some friends within the department. They called me up and said, "Hey, what's the scoop on this?" We shifted a bunch of our product into our direct-to-consumer so they could order it right from us and have it shipped ahead of the season, and they could actually go out and hunt and not have to worry about that when they had to shift into something like that. And so the more and more opportunity we have to engage in those agencies to know what their needs are, or the needs of their customers, and we can help as an industry, that's where it really helps us out on that conservation side of things too, as far as understanding and learning about, property management and what's going on, and trying to engage with our employees in the local governments to know, what. Maybe there's a new wildlife management area that's opening up, and maybe they're seeking some more volunteers to need to help to work on their blinds or trails or whatever. And so we try to engage on those local sides, and then when it comes to state and federal policy conversations, Farm Bill, all these things that are important to your organization and your members are important to our customers and important to us as a company and an industry.
Yeah, hats off to you guys. I guess I think I have to ask you the question about supply. From my personal experience, John, when I go to the local sporting goods store, there's lots of ammo there, but maybe some of the more specialty rounds are not. Mm-hmm. Is there kind of a general kind of availability situation out there with ammunition?
Yeah, I think there's some folks are seeing some challenges, right? And that's probably regionally too, as far as what they may use or what they may need, I guess, for different areas, for different species or different range events. It's a challenging question, right? So it's a complex question. It's not like we can just go out there and say, yeah, let's just fire up another ammunition plant. It's not that easy, unfortunately. But we are, we've shifted. We've made a lot of changes to try to increase our production even higher than we've ever done before to try to meet those demands. And I think that customers will start to see a lot more ammunition, out there and available when it comes to those folks. And, one thing that you hear a lot of stories, whether it's in the competitive shooting or specifically even hunting, a lot of friendships have been made, right? Of saying, hey,
sure.
I've got a bunch of ammunition in my garage or in my basement or whatever, and I'm not going to be able to need it all. And so I think there's been a lot of opportunity to kind of build some of those relationships and some of those friendships, to say, hey, we're going to help you out because we want you to go out and hunt and have a good time. We're going to help you find that ammunition that you need to go and head afield.
No, that's cool. Yeah, this is probably a tired narrative for you and anybody working in the ammunition industry. But is it the number one question I get? And it was interesting talking with Joel Hodgson. The reason for the shortage, from his perspective, was demand. Not that it was difficult for Remington to secure materials to make ammo. It was just demand was so high. How do you?
There certainly is a higher demand. I think there has been some reporting out from NSSF and others that pulled together, and you're talking from 10 to 12 to 13 million, I believe, first-time new gun owners. So whether that's, we don't know exactly whether that's a handgun for a range event or if it's a shotgun to shoot clay targets on, or it's a potential, shotgun to go hunting with. We don't know necessarily those details, but we know that there is over 10 million or 12 million new first-time gun owners. That doesn't even include those folks that are buying others new in addition to adding to their collections to go out. But just that, you think of the math on it, right? You think of 10 million new gun owners, and you just say on average, right? They just want a couple boxes of shells, right? So now you're talking 10 million, and you start to multiply that into, say, 3, 4, 5 boxes or 10 boxes of ammo so that they can practice, or if they're going to go hunting or whatever it may be. You're talking about a fascinating number of products that's needed just to support the new gun owners, not even those folks that already have what they need to be able to go out there. So that was certainly a challenge. For the most part, on the materials and all of that stuff, we've been able to keep all of our factories and everything open up during the challenging times of COVID. And even now after that, we're running and cranking product every day of the week, and we're shipping it as fast as we can possibly ship it to get it out to our retailers so that the customers have what they need to do the things they love, whether it's head to the range or head to the marsh.
Yeah, I bet you everybody has their own experience, the particular load they're looking for. And and I think on the rifle side, for me, I'll be honest with you, I can shoot any. If you have a shotgun, you can shoot any ammunition of that gauge, right? As long as you have the right, non-tox or lead. But with a rifle, people tend to obviously be loyal to a very specific, brand, obviously it's all, grain bullet, velocity. So that can be a little bit challenging for people. I think my personal challenge right now is 10 millimeter handgun ammunition.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't carry it.
Yeah.
In little old Bismarck, North Dakota, that's all 9 millimeter. But so John, thank you so much again for such, bold sponsorship of this event. You guys have a booth. When you guys go to, not a booth, it's a big chunk of floor. You guys have a nice space there. But when you guys go to consumer shows, What are your goals when you come to something like this? If someone sees you at a consumer show, what's your approach?
I consider myself an out-facing employee. I make that reference oftentimes when I make speeches or talk to a lot of people. I'm an out-facing guy. I talk to our consumers. I talk to the general public about what that is. And when we come to an event like this and what Delta Waterfowl has pulled together here, what we want to do is we want to talk to the end users. We want to talk to the consumers. So we'll bring our engineers and we'll bring our product managers here to work the booth. We're not just using, my ugly mug as an out-facing employee to be the guy to go in and have the conversation. We bring our engineers, we bring our people because we want to hear from the customers. We want to know what it is that you're using, that you're loving, that's just the greatest thing ever. Or maybe something that you guys were like, oh, this would be great. Let's have the conversation and talk about what that is. And so for us, it's an opportunity to engage with our customers, which for this event here are your members, right? The most passionate duck hunters that there are in the country are here with us this weekend. And what a better place to have a conversation about duck loads, about what it is that they're looking for and they can't find, or what it is that they want and they wish they could have. We have those folks here in our booths to be able to talk to them to find out what those things are. And that's a big part of our business. It's a great opportunity for us, and we've getting a lot of folks coming up and thanking you and thanking us and thanking everybody for coming together to celebrate. Really, this is a celebration of just great, conservationists from the country. And so to engage in with those folks is something that every one of our employees, and for some, this is their first trip ever to do. We have our product line manager here for shot shell, for federal ammunition. We even have a floor supervisor for our shot shell, facility there in Anoka, Minnesota. She's here for the first time ever, never been to an event, and so she's the one that's making sure all these machines are running and operating with all of our employees, building, a lot of shot shells every single day. She's here to have conversations and talk to people. When they come up and say, well, what is it, or how do you do this? I say, you want to know what? You can go right on over there and talk to Amanda, because Amanda is on the floor every single day managing all the employees that are keeping these machines going, so she can tell you everything inside and out and upside down about a shot shell. She's your gal, and we have her here at the booth to have the conversation with. So it's a great time for us to be able to bring those people here to talk to your members.
That's incredible, because I think, I would imagine someone off the street said, I'm going to go to a show like this. You're probably going to think you're going to run into, and you are, of course you are. You run into sales folks, marketing folks, but to actually, for you guys to send engineers, people that are actually part of that delivery, I think that's to me, that's really impressive and innovative. Mm-hmm. It allows you guys, it allows people on the floor to receive direct customer feedback.
Yeah.
Is that important for the company?
It's so important, right? Because you can sit, it doesn't matter whether you're manufacturing ammunition or you're building cars or whatever it is. You can go there, and if the market's hot, you can keep building whatever it is you want to build, and it's going to be sold, right? And we're in a market time right now where, hypothetically, anything that you're building is sold, or it's going to be sold relatively quick if it hits the store shelves there in Bismarck, North Dakota, and it's something that somebody needs or wants. They're going to buy it up, right? And so for us, though, we still want to make sure that we're on that front edge of knowing what it is that our customers want and need, so that we make sure that we're building what they need. That's an important thing for us.
We have another. So there you go. We're trying to make this this expo a real personal experience for the listeners, right?
Yeah.
If you couldn't make it, you get to hear the announcements on the PA. Well, John, anything that you think we should cover?
I think it's, I guess I would just like to speak on behalf of Federal Ammunition, obviously presenting sponsor here this weekend, and Remington Ammunition, Heavy Shot Ammunition, all of our brands and all of our employees. I would say that it's important for me to leave this and to make sure to share our thank you to the listeners here for their support to Delta Waterfowl, and thank all of the Delta Waterfowl staff and volunteers for what it is that you guys do day in and day out for ducks and for duck hunters. And I think that's an important thing, and I hope that this podcast gets out and gets a great reach of folks that, if you are listening and you're not a member of Delta Waterfowl, by all means, it's an easy process. You sign onto the website, you get it done, and you get to learn what it is that the organization is doing. And so, from the bottom of our hearts as employees, I would say thank you to everybody and everything that Delta Waterfowl stands for, because it's just a great organization doing great things.
Yeah, thanks, John. Really do. I guess then in wrapping up, if anyone has questions, want to reach out to John, I'm not going to ask you for your personal contact information, but you can reach out to me, podcast@deltawaterfowl.org, and I will pass that information on to John. If you have any questions for me, do the same. John, I guess it's a good conversation. I appreciate the time.
All right, enjoy the rest of the weekend. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. All right. Take care, John.
Yeah, thank you.
You bet.